All right, so let's go ahead and have a seat at the front of the mat. Get yourself situated so that you have a nice, straight, aligned spine. And we'll just kind of check in like we always do. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Big exhale through your mouth. Close your eyes. Check in with your body this morning. Start deepening your breath. Ujjayi breathing if you can, please. Check in with your internal landscape, interoception, your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, all of that. What's going on inside your skin, inside your head, inside your heart. And then let's go ahead and set our intention for practice. Palms come together in front of the heart. You can set your intention just for this hour of yoga, or you can set your intention for the day or both. When you're clear, take a deep breath in and exhale. All right. We're going to go ahead and start standing at the front of the mat. So if you'll come to Tadasana, mountain pose, up at the front of your mat, let your feet really connect down. Find a super straight spine. Head balanced on top of your spine. And just take a moment here and root down. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms up, stretch up, 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 up. As you exhale, bend your knees, fold forward and ragdoll. We're gonna hang here for about 3 slow breaths. Go ahead and bring your fingertips beside your feet. If you can straighten your legs a little bit, but that's not necessary. You might even actually want to bend them more. Pull the chest forward, lengthen your spine, and then back down. We're going to step back with our left foot. Nice deep stretch. Just hold this for a couple of breaths. Drop your left knee down, and we're going to go ahead and extend right leg. Flex the ankle and toes. Lift your chest. And so, obviously, it's first hamstring stretch of the day. I should warn you, that's our theme. We're going to be hitting our hammies relatively hard. So the first thing I want you to do is just pay attention here where you might feel resistance in your legs, if at all. Do you feel it at the top part of your hamstring, near your sit bone? Do you feel it in the belly of the muscle? Do you feel it more towards your knee? Are you feeling it more in your calf right now? If your foot is flexed, just kind of be mindful. We're going to use these as just kind of comparison markers for later in the practice. And then just notice, since you've been here for a few breaths, can you kind of tip your pelvis forward? In other words, can you poke your tailbone up towards the ceiling and pull your chest forward and even look forward? And maybe straighten the knee more. Bend your right knee. Let's go ahead and bring the arms up and overhead. Tuck your tailbone under. As always, sink those hips forward. And we'll say hello to the front of the left hip. Go ahead and bring both hands down inside your right foot. We're going to come onto our forearms. You can always use your blocks if you need to. Hug the right knee in towards your torso and kind of pull your right hip back. We'll do this deeper in a moment, but for now, just kind of play with pushing through the big toe side of your right foot and trying to get your right inner thigh somewhere near your right rib cage. And then we'll step back to our first plank. Hold it for a moment so that your core can wake up this morning. And then let's take our first vinyasa. Please feel free to modify the first one if you need to, or modify all of them if you need to. Just do what feels best for you this morning. When you get to your down dog, if you need to move a little bit, that's fine. But once you do, let's really focus again on the back body stretching of this. So obviously it's a spine lengthener, but if we truly lengthen our spine, we can also lengthen our hamstrings. So we press that tailbone way back, and then we try and press the heels down. For those of you whose heels touch, raise your toes. Keep pressing. You should feel the back of your legs. Again, make note of where you feel it. And then we'll take a big step forward with the left foot. Hold your lunge for a couple of breaths. And then go ahead and drop your right knee down. We're going to extend the left leg. So you guys know all of your cues here, flexing the toes, flexing the ankle, all of that. But after you've had a couple of breaths, let's do the same thing we did on the other side, because these principles always apply. First, you want to pay attention to where you're feeling it. Is it up near the sit bone, the middle part or belly of the muscle, or near the attachment at the knee, or is it really more in the calves? Just notice that first, and then see if you can kind of deepen your stretch by poking your tailbone back, which is tilting your pelvis forward, pulling the chest forward to lengthen the spine, and straightening the left knee as much as possible. And then we're going to bend the left knee. Bring the arms up and overhead, tuck the tailbone under, sink forward, because we don't want to neglect the front of the hips. Everything is a balance, right? Front to back, left to right, all of those things. We always strive for balance. Let's bring both hands down inside the left foot. Come onto the forearms if you can. Just like we did before, we're going to really focus on pulling the left inner thigh towards the left rib cage. In other words, keep that left lower leg or shin vertical. Don't let it splay out to the side. And kind of pull your left hip back and your right hip forward. Come back up onto your hands. Let's step forward to our standing forward bend and perfect this for a moment. You guys have heard me say this a million times, so forgive my repetition, but I want you to actually tip your hip bones forward onto your thighs, even if you need to bend your knees to get there. Then get your hands to the ground. Then begin to straighten the legs, but keep contact between rib cage and thighs. Feel your hamstrings. So we have a lengthened spine here, not a rounded spine. We're trying to get our forward bend from the pelvis, and if you do that, again, kind of notice, do you just feel the whole thing, or do you feel it more at the sit bone, or more at the knee, or more in the middle? And then on your next inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Even when you do these quick fold forwards, pay attention to letting it initiate from your pelvis, and then look up and lengthen, and then back down. We're gonna step back with the right foot this time. Couple of breaths in the lunge. And we're just doing a deeper version of everything we just did. So if you need to drop your knee down and repeat our first series, that's absolutely okay. Gazing forward, so your back stays flat. Begin to straighten your left leg. Lengthen your torso forward if you can. And then we'll go ahead and bend the left knee, bringing the arms up and overhead. Find the stretch in the right hip flexor. Bring both hands down inside your left foot. If you can, come onto your right forearm, maybe even both. But pay attention to your alignment. I'd like you to do the same thing here that we did when our knee was dropped down. And you're welcome to drop the knee, by the way. But have that left thigh hugging in towards your torso, left hip pulling back, right hip pulling forward. Try and straighten and lengthen your spine. Hands come back up when we step back to plank. You may take the vinyasa of your choice. Lots of awareness in the hamstrings, please, in your downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward. We hold our lunge for a couple of breaths. And then gazing forward for that nice flat back, we begin to straighten the right leg. Bend your right knee, bring the arms up and overhead. Let the hips drop back down. And then both hands come down inside your right foot. See if you can come on to left or perhaps both forearms. Once you're down, right thigh hugs in towards right rib cage. Right hip pulls back, left hip pulls forward. Come back up onto your hands and step forward to your standing forward bend. Paying attention to the movement coming from the pelvis. Getting torso to thighs, even if the knees need to bend. And keeping the spine lengthened. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Look up halfway. And then back down. We'll step back with the left foot. Spin the heel flat, rise up into warrior two. Go ahead and reverse your warrior. Left hand, left thigh. Right arm reaches up and over. Come back up from that. I want you to scoot your right foot forward, deep in your warrior two. You should be feeling your right hamstring working and stretching. Breathe. Now you can straighten your right leg. Keep this elongated stance. Lengthen your rib cage to the right. Find triangle. Now, particularly today, in order to get the most out of it for our hamstrings and inner thighs, make sure your right leg is straight. Now, if you're a hyperextender, you're going to have to play with that a little bit. Make sure that your body is aligned over your right leg. So if you poke your butt out with your triangle, with your body forward, you're really doing a big disservice. Lean back a little bit so that you are over your right leg. I usually recommend that if your hand is on the floor, it's outside your right foot. Try and keep your right leg really straight. Engage the top of your right thigh. And then keep the right side of the spine long. Now, from here, you can bend your right knee again just so that you can come back up. Straighten the right leg again. Rotate your right foot in or forward so that your feet are now parallel. And you should be in a pretty wide stance since I had you widen your warrior two, so that'll be perfect. Hinge at your hips. Depending upon your flexibility, you can either just bring your hands to the floor, you can bring your forearms to the floor. If you prefer, you can reach out and grab your big toes and bring your head to the floor. Regardless of where you're at with it, I want you to make sure that you don't have all your weight on your heels or all your weight on the balls of the feet. You want to keep it evenly distributed and keep your legs as straight as you possibly can. Take 2 more breaths. Come all the way back up from that. Rotate left foot in, right foot out, and back into that nice deep warrior two. And then take your hands to the mat and take a vinyasa. So if you're really perceptive and tuning into yourself, you might notice in this down dog, as you really press those hips back, that maybe your right leg feels looser. It should. So my right heel is much more easily hitting the ground than the left. Left one's not even quite there yet. So it's nice to just take note. Left foot forward, right foot flat, warrior two. Come on up. Let's go ahead and reverse our warrior. Right hand, right thigh, left arm up and over. Come all the way back up into your warrior two. Scoot your left foot forward. Get into a deeper warrior. You should feel that left hamstring a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and straighten the left leg. So we're gonna do triangle on this side and take your time, right? You don't wanna just like try and plunk yourself down to the floor. Lengthen your rib cage. Remember all those alignment cues from the first side. You want your torso aligned over your left leg, not leaning forward. Be very mindful of where your body is in space. That's that proprioception, right? If your hand is on the floor, it should be outside your foot. The left rib cage should be lengthening. The left leg should be straight. And we're breathing. We're making sure, breath by breath, that our alignment feels correct. Then we try and tighten the top of the left thigh. Come all the way back up, bend your knee into that warrior two for a moment. Good. Now straighten your left leg, rotate left foot in. So we're gonna fold forward again, hinge at your hips, so pelvis initiates a forward bend. And again, you can either grab elbows, hands to the floor, or grab big toes and get head to the floor. It doesn't matter. What matters is your attention to where the weight is on the feet. So you don't want to put all the weight on the ball of the foot so that you can, plop your head on the floor. You don't want to be so far back on the heels that you're hyperextending at the knee. You kind of have to find that sweet spot right in the middle. Keep the top of the thighs tight. Keep breathing. And then we come all the way back up. Rotate left foot back out. Warrior two. Nice deep warrior two. Then we take the hands to the mat and take our vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, you can either walk or jump forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reach the arms up, stretch up. Exhale, fold forward. We're going to step back with the right foot this time. So you have a left foot forward lunge. Just hold this for a moment, and then I want you to just sneak your left foot, maybe one or two scooches to the left, not a lot. But if you look down between your left foot and your right foot, you have maybe, if they were, parallel to each other, you'd have maybe 6 to 8 inches between them. That would be the right width. Go ahead and spin your right heel flat and come up into a warrior one for just a moment. So try not to widen your stance any more than that. We want to have the feet sit bum distance, straighten your left leg now. Rotate your hips as far forward as you can. So today, if you can, I'll give you some hand options, but we want to try and keep the spine straight. Some of you guys, most advanced would be reverse prayer. Palms together, sliding up between the shoulder blades behind your back. Second would be to just reach back and grab your elbows. Third would be to interlace the fingers and squeeze the shoulder blades together. So for those of us that might have unhappy shoulders, option number 3 is best. Regardless, shoulder blades squeeze. We keep our left leg straight, top of the thigh tight, and we lengthen out over our left leg. One more breath here. Let your hands come down to the mat. Swivel back onto the right toes and drop your right knee down. I want you to actually pick your left foot up and move it as far forward as you can. So this is where it might be helpful if you have a block. You might want to even grab it and just make sure it's within reach. In this case, I would put it on the left side. If you've got 2 blocks, you can use both of them. That would be great. So here's the deal. We're just going to go into prep pose for a front split. Some of you might do a full split. That's fine. Doesn't matter. We're just stretching out, in this case, the left hamstring. So we're going to inhale and flex the entire ankle back. And as we exhale, we're going to push through the ball of the foot and slide that left heel forward if we can. Inhale, flex back. Exhale, press, maybe slide forward. One more time. Then, if you want to and you feel safe, only if, you can put your left hand on the block right beside your left hip. The idea is not to lean forward here. You can keep weight on the right hand or have 2 blocks. If you want, take right hand up. If you feel secure enough, you can take both hands up, but only if you feel like you can. Then we're just going to find our way out of that to down dog. And I'll give you an extra couple of breaths because it's not an easy thing to get out of. But just stretch, stretch, stretch. Now your left side should feel looser than your right. Shift forward in the plank, go ahead and take a vinyasa. And then step right foot forward up between the hands. So you're in a right foot forward lunge. I'd like you to do the same thing here. Look back at your feet and just have a little bit of width between them. So for those of us with tight hips, sometimes when we do a warrior one, we go pretty wide to get our hips squared off, but we're not staying in warrior one for very long. So I would prefer that you not go too wide for this. So once you get a few inches of width between the feet, that's perfect. You spin your left heel flat, you come up into your warrior one. As much as you can, you square the hips. You decide on your arm position. Reverse namaste, prayer position behind the back. Grabbing elbows or interlacing fingers so shoulder blades can squeeze. You choose. Right leg straightens, really straight. We try and tighten the top of the right thigh. We start to poke our tailbone out. In other words, we are hinging at the hip, not rounding from the back. That's what I bet you guys do in these hand positions. You want your spine super straight. We take our time, just letting gravity and our breath carry us down. And then just go ahead and let the hands come to the mat. You're swiveling onto the left toes, dropping your left knee down. I want you to go ahead and pick your right foot up and slide it forward. So if you have a block, this time you might want it on your right. And the idea is to have it beside your hip. We're going to try and get our torso vertical. So you don't want your block in front of you because you don't want to be leaning forward. But first, we set up. We inhale and flex the ankle back. Exhale, slide that foot forward. Inhale, flex back. Exhale, press through the ball of the foot. Maybe slide forward again. Notice any difference in tightness and looseness. One more time. Inhale, flex back. Exhale, press. And then if you choose to, grab your block and get vertical. If you feel like you can ditch the blocks. Be mindful. Take one more breath. And then we're going to come out of that and go straight into our downward facing dog. Again, I'll give you a little bit of extra time because it can be somewhat of a challenge. And then once you've had a moment to stretch it out, shift into plank and take your vinyasa. Press your tailbone and your hips way back. Kind of try and tip that pelvis forward. Straighten your legs, press your heels down. Notice how your hamstrings are feeling. And then you can either walk or jump forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. So grab a strap now if you've got one. And even if you have pretty flexible hamstrings, I would love for you to use a strap today. Just because. It'll help us keep our torsos super straight. So even if you can grab your foot and straighten it while you're standing on one leg, still use a strap. I want us to stand on the right foot first today. So we're going to loop the left foot. And here's the deal. Put your left foot back down on the ground. Just hang onto your strap and have your left foot on the ground. Torso very straight, just like in Tadasana. So here's my request. Do not lean forward. Like everybody wants to lean down and get their strap or lean down and get their leg. You should feel like you are up against a wall. In fact, if you're balance challenged this morning, put your back against the wall and keep it there. Maintain perfect vertical posture as you start to hoist a very straight left leg up. Keep it straight. That's part of why we have a strap. Keep your spine straight. Other reason we have a strap. Keep lifting until you feel your left hamstring, stretching. Sorry, I'm wobbly this morning. Maintain that straight vertical spine. Very straight left leg. Try and get the top of the left thigh to tighten. And release, just like that. Super simple, but paying really close attention to our posture. Sorry if I threw anybody off by wobbling. I assume it's better than I'm on a screen and not there in person, right? If I were flailing around in front of you, that would be pretty hard. All right, so we loop our right foot. Both feet on the ground, just like Tadasana. Get very aligned and straight. Don't sacrifice this, you guys. It makes all the difference in the world here. Keep your chest lifted. Keep your spine straight. Keep your right leg straight. Start to hoist it up until you feel a stretch. Vertical spine. Very straight right leg. Trying to tighten the top of the right thigh. And release. Nice job. Put your strap somewhere within reach, because you'll get to do that again on your back. And bring your feet together at the front of the mat, palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. And as you exhale, hinge forward from the hips and find your forward bend and then stay there. Let's refine it again. Really try and get your pelvis to tip forward. So think of it as where the front part of your hip bones are. You're trying to like tip those forward onto your thighs. And then I'd like for you to actually lengthen your spine. Pull your chest forward, but relax your neck. And then really try and get the torso to the thighs. And within reason, you can straighten the legs. Look up halfway and lengthen. And then back down. You can go ahead and walk or jump back to plank. We're going to take one last vinyasa before we start our other stretches. In this last downward facing dog, reach the hips as far up and back as humanly possible. Imagine those hip bones tipping forward onto your pelvis again. Really press your heels down, and if your heels are on the ground, lift your toes. And then let's go ahead and walk forward and have a seat. And start off in Dandasana, staff pose. Legs extended, very active. Tops of the thighs are tight. Hands behind us for a straight spine. Take a couple breaths. Just check in with everything. And then keep your right leg straight. Bring your left foot to the inside of your right thigh. Now, before you just lean out the way you always do, I'm going to ask you to do something a little different. We're going to start it from the hip. So it's real easy to just lean out of your leg. We do it all the time. I want you to actually put your right hand at your hip. I want you to feel it shift. It's kind of like you're pushing your weight forward a little bit so that your tailbone hooks behind you. Then tighten the top of your right thigh by pushing the back of the knee and the heel both into the floor. Flex your ankle. Now lean forward without letting any of those other things go first. You may not go as far, but I'm guessing you'll feel a little more. So you're still trying to tip your pelvis forward. You're trying to keep the top of your thigh really tight, trying to keep your ankle really flexed, and your chest is pulling forward. You're not rounding down, you're lengthening forward. Take one more breath here. And then you know we're going into Heron because it's such a great hamstring stretch. So lift that leg up. You have a strap today. If you can't get your leg straight without a strap, use your strap. Lift your chest. Very proud Heron. Straight leg, flexed foot. Pull if you need to. Go ahead and bring your right leg back down. Extend your left leg. Make sure you're back on your sit bones. Bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. We're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to be really mindful of setting it up right instead of just falling forward over our leg. First thing I want you to do is actually feel your pelvis shift. If you put your left hand at your hip and kind of imagine that your pelvis tips forward, you'll feel some action there. It's almost like you're rocking forward a little bit on your sit bones. So your tailbone's poking forward, poking back a little more, right? Get your pelvis set and then tighten the top of your left thigh and flex your ankle and then lengthen your spine forward over that. So your chest is pulling forward, you're not rounding down. You're trying to get that left hip bone to tip forward onto the top of the thigh. Trying to press the back of the knee and the heel into the ground so that your quad is activated. And you should be feeling this. And then we're going to come on up from that. Extend the right leg out. Give your legs a good wiggle. That's it for your seated stretches. Make sure your strap is within reach. And then we're just going to go ahead and roll onto our back. You can hug your knees in. Rock side to side if you need to. And I'd like you to grab your strap. Loop your right foot. Extend your left leg all the way out onto the mat. Keep your left foot active. So I want you to try and keep your left leg pretty straight. It's easy to let it flop, and if we pull on the right leg, the left leg moves. I'm going to ask you to keep left leg really grounded, really active. Your left quad, the top of your left thigh, is engaged and your left foot is flexed. You have a strap. Even if you're very flexible, use a strap. Don't let your head get into it, right? So the first thing I want you to do is not feel a stretch in the right leg. Find a place where your right leg is totally straight, foot and toes flexed, and you feel nothing. Ground your right pelvis, like the right side of your pelvis, into the mat. Keep your left leg really grounded. Then you start to pull your right leg towards you, maintaining all of that really impeccably, keeping right knee straight, right hip grounded, left leg grounded, and you breathe. This is all about the sensation. Now, keep your right hip totally connected to the floor. This is going to initiate from the thigh, right? At the beginning of the hip, not from the back. You don't even have to switch hands. Very small move to start to take your right leg towards the midline. We're not trying to twist. I want the back of your right hip so connected to the mat. Yeah. So you're just slightly taking the right leg towards the midline, keeping your right knee completely straight and your foot flexed. Awesome. You can release, hug your right knee. Bring your left knee up to meet it, and then rock a little bit. So when we're really mindful of all the details, it's amazing how much more we can get out of our postures and poses. particularly in an early morning class. It's easy to kind of zone out. So it's nice for you guys to really focus in. Let's go ahead and loop the left foot. Extend the right leg all the way out. And again, I want you to start at a place of no stretch, right? Part of this trains us to just stay out of our egos. Our egos are really not particularly useful in yoga. So right leg is totally straight, right foot is flexed, and we're going to keep it grounded. We're not going to let it lift or anything, right? We make sure we're not really feeling anything on the left leg so that we can make sure that the left knee is totally straight, the foot is flexed, right? So everything's engaged, grounded, we're not really feeling anything. We keep that perfect alignment on the left leg. Then we start to pull on it till we are feeling something. And then we just breathe and we pay attention to maintaining all of our form. Very straight left knee, flexed foot. Right leg stays very grounded and active. And we're breathing. Don't let your left knee bend. Don't zone out. Stay really present to your skin. All right, so now we're going to keep the back of the left hip totally connected. Zero spinal twist, you guys. So important here. Left hip stays totally flat. Left leg stays totally straight. And you just barely start to kind of cross your leg towards the midline of your body. It's not a big move, you guys. In order to keep it in the hamstring, particularly up around the sit bone area, you have to be mindful of keeping that hip grounded. Take one more breath here. Release. Hug your knees in. Rock side to side. And then from here, we're just going to do a quick twist in inversion. So I'm going to have you do bridge for your inversion today. We'll go ahead and do that before we do our neutralizing twist. So just bridge today because it's a nice kind of counterpose to everything that we've already been doing. I want you to put your feet flat on the mat, big toes touching, heels apart. Excuse me. And as you lift your hips, notice how your hamstrings tighten and the quads, the top of the thighs, stretch. So if you've really been mindful in your hamstring stretches, it's been the opposite. Your quads have been tightening to keep your knees straight, and your hamstrings have been stretching. Now we're doing the opposite. Take 3 more deep breaths here. On your next exhale, lower down. Hug your knees in. Let's just do a nice simple twist today. Keep your knees bent together. Drop them over to the right. Let your left arm open out to the left. By the way, if you prefer a deeper twist, if you have a different variation that you like, please feel free to do it. You don't have to do this gentle, easy one. You can always adapt and change the pose to whatever your body needs. On your next inhale, let the knees come back up, and as you exhale, drop them over to the left. Right arm opens out to the right. Turn your head to the right. On your next inhale, come on back up. Hug your knees in. Grab your feet and do a little happy baby. So it's obvious that your emphasis was on your hamstrings. Today, you should be able to feel that as you move around in happy baby. If there's something else that you need, please feel free to get it now. If you're doing something on one side, you can switch. We've got about 3 more deep breaths here. When you're ready, bring your feet down to the mat. We're going to be doing our little breath-centered movement like butterfly wings this morning. Exhale, allow your knees to drop open. Inhale, bring the knees back together. So as you're breathing out, it's like you're opening your wings. As you're breathing in, you're folding them back up. The next time that your knees drop open, let them stay there and just be passive here for a couple of breaths. And then we'll just do one quick spine lengthener on your next inhale. Tilt the pelvis back, pressing your low back into the mat. And then as you exhale, release. You may begin to extend your legs. Find your way into Shavasana this morning. So I usually recommend it anyway, but you might want to do a little inner outer thigh rotation here, like that little windshield wiper feet thing, just to make sure that your thighs and your hips are totally relaxed after your hamstring centered practice. Make sure that your spine feels long. Always check that the shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. The hands are below the heart, the palms are facing up. The neck is long, the face is soft, the eyes are closed. You just take a deep inhale here. Exhale through your mouth. Just sink in. For today's Shavasana, I would love for you to just allow the magic of the practice itself to sink in, to soak in. Let your body remember and absorb every movement, every muscle that lengthens and strengthens. Let it remember that it's long and strong. Every breath that was deep and fluid, let it remember that it was so. Every moment that you spent in pure awareness, complete attention to the moment, let that continue. Just start to feel back into your body. Really noticing your entire body. Noticing perhaps that even the parts that weren't quote unquote worked still benefited. The entire body has experienced an increase in blood flow, an increase in oxygen transport, an increase in energy, which translates to an increase in life. Feel that as you start to move your fingers and toes. Start to deepen your breath. When you're ready, breathe in deeper. Spread your fingers and toes and then exhale. Relax them. Even deeper. Inhale. Stretch your body out. Lengthen and exhale. Relax it. Bend your knees. So whether that means letting your feet rest on the ground or hugging your knees in, do something like that. And then when you feel ready, roll to your right side. And go ahead and press yourself up into a nice straight spine seated position. You might even notice that your seated position feels a little different, a little easier as a result of releasing through your legs a little bit. So here comes mine for breath work. So we have a full moon tomorrow. And of course, that means lots and lots of lunar energy. And my understanding is it's a full moon lunar eclipse. So that means it's like exponentially greater lunar energy. So we're going to be doing some really solar breathing. Okay, first off, if you've got allergies going on, because it is in fact a stunning spring, if all that beautiful blooming foliage has got you stopped up, you're just going to do whatever you can this morning. If you're game for it, we will do a couple of bati breathing, that really forceful pumping of the abdomen. And if you're really feeling it and you really want to bring some solar energy in, which is always appropriate early on a Monday morning, then you can do a couple of bati through the right nostril only. So that's where I'm headed this morning. But I want you to do whatever's best for you. We'll just do one round. Make sure it comes from the abdomen. Make sure you don't get lightheaded or confused. Take your time with it. This breath takes a long time and a lot of practice to get right. If you are going to block your left nostril, please use some finger of your right hand. Don't use your left hand, but use your right hand. Otherwise, you can just do it through both nostrils or just breathe however you can. All right? So, take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe out completely through your nose. If you're blocking your left nostril, go for it. Take another deep breath in. Breathe out half of your air and begin. Take a big inhale, raise both arms up, spread your fingers. Exhale, float the arms back down. Just let your hands rest on your knees or thighs. If your eyes are closed, keep them closed. So again, this morning, we're just going to give ourselves the opportunity to let all of this soak in. Notice any difference in how you feel as a result of your breath work. Notice if you feel warmer, notice if you feel a little more energized. And then let's go ahead and bring palms together in front of the heart. Take a moment in gratitude for this practice. So I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. Yoga is still here after more than 5,000 years because it works. And I, for one, am grateful to have had it for so many years in my life
grateful for what it's done for you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, the whole package. And I certainly hope it does the same for you. So taking a moment in gratitude for what yoga has done for you. And then take one more huge breath in.
Exhale with an enormous sigh.
We bring our palms to our foreheads, and this reminds us to stay present, to pay attention, to not miss our lives. We bring our palms to our lips. It reminds us to speak our truth, and in order to do that, we have to know our truth. And we bring our palms together in front of our hearts, and this reminds us to keep our hearts open, to remember that everyone is struggling. They all have their own things and issues, and we should remember that, so that we can always come from a place of kindness, compassion, understanding, and love. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Namaste.